When the children of Israel entered the promised land, they set up the tabernacle of the Lord at Shiloh. Look at Joshua 18, verse 1. Now the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of meeting there, and the land was subdued before them. Shiloh is the original site where God placed His name in Israel. It's located on the main route from Jerusalem going north through the mountains of Samaria to Shechem and on to the Galilee. The tabernacle that the children of Israel built in the wilderness of Sinai first resided in the land of Israel at Shiloh. For over 350 years, Shiloh was the center of the Jewish world. I'm Dan Cathcart, and this is Shadows in the Land of Israel. The name Shiloh comes from the Hebrew word shalah, meaning to be tranquil, successful, prosperous, to be in safety. Prior to the days of King Solomon and the building of the temple in Jerusalem, Shiloh was the place where all Israel were to bring their firstfruits offerings to the Lord. Look at Deuteronomy 26, 1 through 3. And it shall be when you come into the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and you possess it and dwell in it, that you shall take from the first of all of your produce of the ground, which you shall bring from your land that the Lord your God is giving you, and put it in a basket, and go to the place where the Lord your God chooses to make His name abide. And you shall go to the one who is priest in those days, and say to him, I declare today to the Lord your God that I have come to the country which the Lord swore to our fathers to give us. So as they brought their offerings, they were to declare that God kept His promises to bring them into the land and to bless them with prosperity. In a sense, they were declaring that God was their king and that all their prosperity was due to the blessings that He sent to them. The Tabernacle of God remained at Shiloh from the time of Joshua throughout the time of the Judges. When the children of Israel first entered the land, Joshua gathered the people together at Shiloh and cast lots for the division of the land according to their tribes. Let's look at Joshua 18, verse 10. Then Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua divided the land to the children of Israel according to their divisions. We read that Elkanah went up to Shiloh to bring his firstfruits offerings. His wife Hannah went with him to the tabernacle to pray before the Lord. Hannah was barren, but Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, had children, and she taunted Hannah with her barrenness. Look at 1 Samuel 1 through 3, and then we'll skip down to 9 through 11. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. And she was filled with bitterness of soul and prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. God heard Hannah's plea and granted her a son, whom she named Samuel, because she had asked of God and he had heard her request. The name Samuel in Hebrew is pronounced Shemuel, which means heard of God. But at the same time that God hears and grants Hannah's plea for a son, the sons of Eli, the high priest, stole the offerings that the people brought to the Lord. Look at 1 Samuel 2, 12 through 14. Now the sons of Eli were corrupt. They did not know the Lord, and the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered a sacrifice, the priest's servants would come with a three-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. Then he would thrust it into the pan, or the kettle, or cauldron, or pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. So as a result of this theft and a profaning of the offerings brought to the Lord, the people despised the offerings and hated to bring them. Look at 1 Samuel 2:17. Therefore the sins of the young men was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offerings of the Lord. So as priests to the Lord, Eli's sons Hophni and Phinehas were the ones who were to instruct Israel in the Torah and minister to the people before the Lord. Instead, Hophni and Phinehas led the people of Israel into sin. When Eli heard of this behavior, he remonstrated with them, but he did not correct their behavior. Look at 1 Samuel 2, 23 and 24. So he said to them, "Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people transgress." Now God pronounced judgment on the entire family line of Eli. Then, when the Philistines attacked Israel, Eli and Phinehas were killed, and the ark of the Lord was taken captive. Look at 1 Samuel 4, 10 through 11. So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent. And there was a great slaughter, and there fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers. So the ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Although the ark of the Lord was returned to Israel after 7 months, it never again resided in Shiloh. Because of the sins of Hophni and Phinehas, as well as the transgressions of the people, partly because of Hophni and Phinehas, God abandoned Shiloh and allowed the Ark of the Covenant, his dwelling place on earth, to be taken captive. The psalmist calls the ark his strength and glory. Look at Psalm 78, 58 through 61. For they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their carved images. When God heard this, he was furious and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent he had placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the enemy's hand. God removed his name from Shiloh and eventually placed it in Jerusalem. Psalm 78 goes on to tell us of God's rejection of Shiloh, located in the tribal lands of Ephraim, and the selection of Jerusalem, which he also called Zion. Let's look at verses 67 through 70. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth which he has established forever. He also chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. Now Jacob prophesied about this event, that God would choose Judah, when he blessed his sons before his death. Jacob said that the rulers of Israel would come from the line of Judah. Let's go back to Genesis 49:10 and take a look. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Notice the odd reference to Shiloh. how can a place come? There must be a deeper understanding to be found in this Genesis passage. God's presence at Shiloh was before he chose Judah and Jerusalem as his ultimate place of his name. So what does Jacob mean that the lawgiver would not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes? Now, Shiloh as a place of God's name came and went well before the time of King David, who was from the line of Judah. The Jewish sages have long recognized that Shiloh in this context is in reference to the coming Messiah. They say that the letters of the word Shiloh, which are the Shin, the Yod, Lamed, and Vav, form two words, Shehi and Li, or Lay, which together mean gift to him, referring to the Messiah. Also, the word translated until doesn't mean that the scepter leaves Judah when Messiah comes. It means that once Messiah comes, Judah's blessing of kingship will be fully realized from that time going forward. But we see that this doesn't happen when David comes as king, so there is yet to be a future fulfillment of this prophecy. As time passed, the children of Israel did not remain faithful. They continued to turn away from God to worship other gods, letting greed for riches and power lead them to greater and greater transgression. Eventually, God pronounced judgment on Jerusalem, just like he had done on Shiloh. Now, Jeremiah writes of this coming judgment. Let's look at Jeremiah 7:12 through 15. But go now to my place, which was in Shiloh, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of my people Israel. And now, because you have done all these works, says the Lord, and I spoke to you, rising up early and speaking, but you did not hear, and I called you, but you did not answer. Therefore, I will do to the house which is called by my name, in which you trust, and to this place which I gave to you and your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh. And I will cast out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren, the whole posterity of Ephraim. So God's judgment came on Jerusalem. The city was sacked, the temple destroyed, the inhabitants carried away into captivity. However, unlike Shiloh, God will again choose Jerusalem as the place of his name. Look at Zechariah 1, verse 17. And again saying, Thus says the Lord of hosts, My cities shall again spread out through prosperity. The Lord will again comfort Zion, and I will again choose Jerusalem. The psalmist instructs the people to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Psalms 122, verses 6 through 9. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brethren and companions, I will now say, Peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. The word prosper in this psalm is the Hebrew word Shiloh, the same root word as the name Shiloh. May those who love Jerusalem experience the reality of Shiloh, when peace comes to Jerusalem, the city of peace. Joshua knew the promise of Shiloh. He knew that the place where God put his name would be the place where God's people would bring the first fruits of the prosperity of the land that God gave them. Joshua 23, verse 14. Behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth. And you know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing has failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spoke concerning you. All have come to pass for you. Not one word of them has failed. In the time of Messiah, at the end of the age, when the true King of Israel reigns, Jerusalem will be the place of prosperity, safety, and tranquility. Shiloh will have come. Thank you for watching today. I'm Dan Cathcart, and this is Shadows in the Land of Israel. Shalom, and be blessed.